In my video titled Impromptu First Time Cart Crash, I spoke with a couple of Jehovah's Witnesses and asked them who their mediator was. I also mentioned in that conversation that I had a copy of The Finished Mystery. They sounded really interested, so I offered to bring it by sometime. I did bring it by another time, but they weren't there, so I showed it to the two Jehovah's Witnesses who were there at the time. That video is called Another Cart Chat, showing JW's The Finished Mystery. In the course of that conversation, one of them told me when the first couple would be there next, so since I was available that day, I brought it again. This time, not only was that first couple there, but also another couple that I hadn't met before. It was a long and very interesting talk, and I have shared some portions of it already in the video's conversations with JWs about Luther and Russell, and a quick conversation with a JW about Matthew 24 and the FDS. To be honest, I was a little tired of talking about the finished mystery by then, so I didn't bother preparing this portion of the conversation to post at the time. And then I forgot about it as I got focused on other things. So I thought now would be a good time to share it. The lady I was mainly talking with here is quite a spitfire. I really like her, and I hope we get more opportunities to talk in the future. I've only seen her briefly one time shortly after that, but she wasn't excited to talk at all that time. We talked last time I had the book, The Finished Mystery.
Yes.
And I brought it if you wanted to see it.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. I don't know.
I got a first edition.
A first edition.
Yeah.
Where'd you get that from?
A used book sale for $3, if you can imagine. I know.
So funny. Oh, wow.
So,
look at that. The Great Book of Controversy, what, 1918?
17.
17, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Isn't that wild? Yeah, you could see right in the front. At first I was looking at research and I could only find information on the 1918 one, and I'm like, well, mine is different than that, but that's why. And one page back, I think, is where it actually says the date. Sorry, my hands are butterfingers.
Oh, dear. Yeah, I'm having the same problem as you.
Well, old pages and all that, I guess.
I know.
Yeah.
There it is, 1917.
Isn't that wild?
Oh, that's crazy. The White Press of God's Wrath in Fall of Babylon. 308,000 edition.
Yeah, pretty neat, hey? So yeah, I was telling them yesterday, and I thought it was kind of neat that there's pages in the 200s that they actually cut out of this book so that Rutherford could get out of prison.
Oh,
because he went to jail for sedition.
Oh, yeah.
For like speaking against the war and stuff, and it was really, really detailed stuff. Like he was talking about numbers and stuff, countries, and and the evil of patriotism and stuff like that. Stuff that we wouldn't have an issue with somebody printing today. But
back in the day.
Yeah,
wow,
so they cut it out, and then they were allowed out. And then in 1918 they took that stuff out and changed it to more generic, same message, but more generic stuff.
How interesting.
Yeah, he'll probably want to see it. He's probably really interested.
Oh, my
so
goodness.
and then the 1980. So this one I can't find anywhere online. Like
No.
I'd like to see.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I thought it'd be fun.
So how did you get interested in that?
Well, I was just I love old books in general. Like I got some old Mormon books at the same time, and I love to talk religion with people. So I thought, well, doesn't that look cool sitting on a bookshelf?
Oh yeah,
And I got some other ones. I got the Divine Plan of the Ages.
Oh yeah.
That's a really old one. It's that one's kind of in bad shape though. It's missing some pages and it's kind of torn up, but it still looks really cool.
Yeah, he was really digging Russell. He was trying to figure out the truth, and started from where he was at. He had some funny ideas, but he got going on examining the scriptures.
Yeah.
What does the Bible say about this subject and that subject?
Well, and it was interesting too because I had read a little bit before, but you know how you don't want to trust anything you read online too much, right? And you want to actually see it for yourself. And it does say in here, like I'd read before, that he was following William Miller, one of the Millerites, and that was kind of where he took like his prophecies from and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And it actually says that in here.
Oh,
like it actually talks about how. Sorry, my eyes are dripping because of the wind.
Is terrible. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it talks about that in here. Miller had a dream about the church. Well, he didn't say church specifically, but it was like a symbolic dream about jewels, and all these false jewels came in, and then this wonderful man of God came and cleaned it all up, and that was a prophecy of Russell and all this stuff.
Oh,
so yeah, it's right in there.
Yeah, who knows, eh?
Yeah, so I don't know, it's an interesting book, and as I was saying yesterday, books back then were well written, right? Like they had like a style to them that was like scholarly and that kind of thing. And that's what this is.
Well, people don't have the focus anymore to read that in the time and the information.
Yeah, and grammar and vocabulary and everything is kind of going down and down and down, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. Even what we've got written for the public and for everybody, it's very basic.
Yeah,
it's come down to very basic, and it's necessary. It's like, okay, basics, like how to, function on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
In an ungodly world.
Yeah.
And how to function in a godly way.
Yeah. I noticed that actually
about everything.
Yeah.
So it's simplified right down to very basic.
Yeah, and people don't really want to think much more about. It's like they have more information available, but people are taking in less information.
So it's up to the individual to dig.
With her comments about things being so dumbed down, I really wanted to jump in and mention how the Watchtower literature had gotten that way more recently, but I didn't get a chance before the conversation was interrupted. At this point, the woman from my first-time cart crash had gone to find her husband in another spot and brought him back to see the book. So that's where we picked up here in the conversation. Note that it was really windy that day, so the sound quality isn't always very good. Unfortunately, I didn't have my cheat sheet of interesting page numbers with me on this day so that I could quickly show them some of the more interesting quotes in the book. And I was a bit nervous talking with the whole group of them. But I think it was still an interesting conversation anyway.
Your name is Janet?
Janet, yeah. And I know I look different. I got my hair all cut off, so...
Okay. Oh, that's
the finished mystery.
Yes, yeah, indeed. Beautiful, yeah. Did you have a chance to read it?
I have read through quite a bit of it, actually. Yeah, it's fascinating. It's so hard to put down. It's just a kind of interesting stuff.
Yeah, it was banned. It was banned in the United States.
And here too. Yeah. And it was banned for. There's 10 pages in here, as I was just saying that Rutherford and the other fellows were arrested for.
Yeah. Oh yes.
And it was to get out of jail. They had to agree to cut those 10 or so pages out.
Yeah.
And so they did, and then they released it in 1918 edition, where they just changed things up so it's not so like intensely, about specifically about all the countries involved in the war and all that kind of thing. It's still the same ideas, but and this one has the original pages. They weren't cut out for some reason.
Wow.
So yeah.
That's really good.
So yeah, it's kind of neat. Yeah, so I was showing the front cover of it. Yeah, it's a fascinating. Yeah, there you go. 1917.
So are those the pages that were not cut out? That were cut out there?
They're not cut out in this one. Yeah.
Can I take
You see it?
Yeah.
1917.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't. They're not here actually. I could send you those. There's a bunch of them, but I could show you. But yeah, you guys can hang on to that if you like. That's just a bit of the preface to show you a few things. And one page it talks about the book itself and the studies in the scriptures books and how they're going to become important in the end times.
I think at one point they thought Taze was the faithful and discreet slave.
They did, yeah. It says that in here quite a bit, yeah. It's not easy with the wind.
Oh yeah, you're going to rip the book up.
It should be out of the wind.
Oh, 427.
Oh, that's fun. Are you sharing this?
Yeah, you can hang on to that. Sure. Yeah, and I've got my email on the back page. If anybody, I can email anybody that's interested. I could send you. I've taken pictures of all the pages that were cut out and that are in here. And I can't remember what the.
Did you have an older one too?
This is the first edition.
A newer one, or?
I don't. There is. I put on there too. There's a link to somebody scanned a copy of the 1918 one, and it's a complete scan just of that book, nothing else, in a PDF. So you can read it or download it or whatever, and you can see the pages are. I've looked through and compared it. Most of it's identical, but just those pages have been changed up a little bit. So sorry, I'm trying to.
Do you know what pages they were?
I thought it was 427, 428, something in there. 429. Nope. I've seen it up. I kind of know what it looks like when I get to it, but I can't remember what the page was. Sorry, I can't believe I didn't find it.
That was just about time before they were arrested.
Yeah, that's what they got arrested for. Yeah.
Even that one of the officials in the United States said, we're gonna get you for it.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Or during World War II when they showed that.
World War I.
No, next during World War II when they publicized Goebbels' speech side by side with an American, I can't remember what the guy's name is, but it was almost verbatim for Goebbels' propaganda.
Oh, yeah.
Almost the exact same propaganda was given by this American fellow, and do a little research on that.
Yeah. Something about, patriotism.
Yeah, they never take well to whistleblowers, do they?
Oh, no, maybe not.
So what did you find was compelling about this book?
It's hard to pick one thing. There's so much. There's just a ton of there's a lot of prophecy in here, like lots and lots and lots of prophecy. There's a write-up about how this book was written in Scranton and then published in Brooklyn, and he took a measurement of the exact number of miles between the two, including taking 2 ferries, and that was equated to a number in the Bible, and so that proved that it was a divine book.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So yeah, it's fascinating.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and that it says.
And he says that in this book.
Yeah. I can't remember that. I'd have to look it up, but yeah, there's a whole list of like he's got like a chart that he does of all the different.
Or before that, the chart of the ages and the whole pyramid.
Oh yeah, and that was in the Divine Plan, and that one's torn out of my book, unfortunately.
Oh, too bad for you.
Kind of, that would have been neat to have, but there's several places where it says that Russell is supervising from beyond the veil.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, and which is interesting because I mentioned this to a witness a while ago, and she said, well, that's because he's an angel now. Do you?
Oh, in the sense that he.
There's a lot of things that we don't believe now.
Yeah, Russell's not. No.
Because it does say in the Bible, light gets brighter. So. Yeah. So there is something.
Well, it's interesting because she when I read it to her, she was like, oh well, like at first she was like, oh, I don't think so, but then when I read it to her, she was like, oh well, that's because he's an angel now.
No.
Because
that's
of the
probably
year of
what
his
they
birth
were
or
thinking
whatever.
when they said that from behind the veil.
Yeah.
Maybe in a sense.
Probably.
Or they probably thought he was pretty special. Like when he died, like half the Bible students, or like a big chunk of them fell away. They were just like devastated.
Well, I understand there was a split. Some went with Rutherford and some went on their own, and they're still around. There's still a group called Bible students that are not following Rutherford or didn't follow that path.
The thing is that language has changed over 2,000 years.
Yeah,
the Bible was
written. And we were just talking
and
about
the
that.
meaning of what the way it was interpreted at a certain time has also changed with time.
Yeah.
So now we see things in a much brighter light than let's say 1,000 years ago.
Or 100. We're moving on from Russell and Rutherford.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, when I look at the Christian church, because I love reading about church history and reading old authors of Luther and all from long ago kind of thing. And as far as I can tell, we still believe the same thing as they did. There's still, there's different things we can look at. Like I also love learning about textual criticism of the Bible and really getting into the Greek and Hebrew and all that. Yeah. And it's amazing the more that we see, even looking at textual variants, and it all proves that the Bible is the Word of God. Like it's just so clear, and it has never changed, and it's never been corrupted, and it's still the same. And so the church still believes what we've always believed. So.
Well, especially in the big things, like back then, it was clear that there was no hellfire. No, there's no hellfire.
I know that's one of your beliefs. And there are certain groups that believe that.
Right. So, and there was.
An infant baptism is not appropriate. It's not valid. It's
we were just talking about that. Yeah, like that. I understand they believe that it's the. I don't agree
Jesus
with
and Jehovah being separate and different people. There's things that Russell his
well, it's
studies.
Interesting. Russell sort of seemed to
he
rejected the church and went off on his own and did his own study, right? So he just went off and he followed Miller. And I was mentioning too. This
it sounds like he
William
was
Miller
searching. He was digging and searching. And
he was, yeah. But it's interesting because then he basically said, "I'm not going to submit to the authorities. I'm going to go off on my own, and I'm going to ignore all of church history. I'm going to go do my own thing, right?" And I mean, Joseph Smith did the same thing, right? And Miller did the same. Oh, yeah, he did the exact same thing. He's more
wrote his own book.
Yeah, several.
He said a book came out of the sky.
Oh,
yeah,
I know.
That's quite, entirely
stuff,
different
yeah.
from.
Oh yeah, I know. Your religion's quite
Charles
different
Russell
than
was
ours.
digging. He was trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Even a long time before.
Kind of like an archaeologist, sort of starting to dig and
Right.
starting to dust things off. Like he got some basic things right.
Oh sure, yeah. And I mean on morality, there's certainly lots of things we can agree on.
Other than that, we're moving on, you know.
Yeah.
And then
like
Russell, Rutherford.
Luther, he exposed the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
To hear this part of the conversation, check out the video I did about Luther and Russell.